It's time for the Lowell Green Show, originating live on BlastTheRadio.com. Ask your smart speaker to play Blast the Radio. Live video available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Email Lowell at BlastTheRadio.com. The number to call or text is 613-413-2217. And now, telling it like it is, here's Lowell Green.
That you're still on the air. I guess Bill C-10 hasn't passed as yet.
Oh, the day's young. The day's young.
The Nazis haven't come after you yet. You know what I envisage, because obviously guys like you and me, we're going to try and circumvent the law and go ahead and broadcast what we want anyway. But back in the Second World War, the Nazis used to have special trucks that would go around with a little whirly thing on the top, and to detect clandestine radios. And what they would do if they found a clandestine radio in a house, they would just go in, shoot everybody in the house, and then burn the house down. I don't know if Trudeau would be shooting people. I'm not sure if they'd burn the house down, but they'd probably throw us in jail anyway. We're going to be talking about C-10 again a little bit. It's unbelievable what's happening here. But folks, holy suffering doodle cats. Here we go again. Another barefaced, grinning lie from our Prime Minister. Is anybody keeping track out there? I mean, if I would think that we're looking at more than, I have 10 fingers still, okay? And somehow I've been spared all of my fingers, 10 toes. I would imagine that, even if I used all 10 fingers and 10 toes, still couldn't count the number of lies that this Prime Minister has been caught in. It's unbelievable. Look, some 700 complaints about sexual harassment and sexual misbehavior of other kinds from members of the military in the past 5 years. Now, past 5 years is what? Oh, that's the time that Trudeau's been in power. So in that time, since Trudeau's come to power, there have been about 700 complaints, almost all, of course, from female members of Canada's military about sexual harassment, sexual whatever. Everybody in Trudeau's office knows all about it. It's been very, very firmly reported. Everybody in National Defense knows all about it. The defense minister knows all about it. The Privy Council knows all about it. Trudeau's chief of staff, Katie Telford, knows all about it. But Trudeau says, hey, I didn't know. Yeah, I knew there were some complaints, but I didn't know they were sexual.
Jeez.
Can you? I mean,
come on.
Who would believe that? Who the hell would believe? Well, I guess if you're a Liberal, and I guess you're an NDP, I don't know, you believe that. 700 complaints in 5 years. Everybody all around you knows. You know that there have been some complaints, but you didn't realize that they were sexual in nature. Oh, I mean, come on. I thought that the deputy Conservative leader, Candice Bergen, for whom I have a lot of respect, okay? Here is a very strong, very powerful, very intelligent woman who says it like it is. She stood in the House yesterday. I will paraphrase what she said. She said essentially this: what we have here is another example of the old boys network looking after the old boys. And chief old boy is the Prime Minister himself. 700 complaints, and the Prime Minister says he doesn't know anything about this? I mean, very clearly, this is Candice Bergen, very clearly she says, what we have here is the old boys looking after each other. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Oh, yeah, okay. But let's move on. Unbelievable. And Trudeau expects people to believe this? And even, I guess, more incredible, some people, particularly women, I guess, I'm sorry, are going to believe this. That everybody but Trudeau knew. Everybody but now. So now, what do they do? These liberals, you got to hand them this. These liberals are damn good. So what do? They pull off the oldest trick in the book. We've got a prime minister in a little bit of trouble here. He stands and he lies, and everybody laughs at him. They know he's lying. And what's really disturbing, apparently, the Liberals are getting some news, a little bit of feedback, a little bit of backlash, that there are some women out there that are just a little bit concerned about, just a little bit concerned about this. So holy smokes, we got to do something, okay? So what do? Well, they pick kind of a retired judge out of retirement, out of an old folks' home someplace, and they say she's going to conduct an independent, arm's-length investigation that will solve the whole thing. Completely forgetting that about 6 years ago, another woman carried out what was supposed to be a totally independent, arm's-length investigation, and at the conclusion of it issued a scathing report, told the MPs, including the Liberals and the Conservatives, exactly what was happening. It was scathing. Was anything done? Well, no. Did anybody pay any attention to what she said, that independent investigation? Well, no. Did General Vance, against whom many complaints were laid, did he lose his job? Well, no. Did General Vance get a raise? Well, yes. So now they're going to do the same thing. They're going to have another independent investigation. Now, what this does, of course, is this punts, if you're a football fan, you know what I'm talking about. This punts the whole issue down well past the next election. Because every time Candice Bergen or anybody else gets up in the House, opposition, anybody with a brain, and asks about General Vance and sexual harassment in the military, the Liberals are going to stand up and they're going to be huffy-puffy. They're very good at huffy-puffiness. And they're going to say, well, we can't comment on this, and you Conservatives know this darn well, that there's an independent investigation here, and there's no way that we can comment because we would then be deemed to be trying to influence a decision here. So let's move on. And that's what they've done. So once again, we've got the Prime Minister skates through. Da, 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 da. Bad problem, Mozi. I'm fine. I didn't know. It's amazing. What's going on is almost farcical. Okay, it's almost farcical. I mean, here, look at the situation. From groping, remember that one? To the blackface, to illegal holidays with the Aga Khan. Ethics convictions. How many ethics convictions? Is there 3 or 4 now against this guy? Lavalin, Jody Wilson-Raybould, the WE scandal, vaccine tragedy, and now sexual harassment in the military. Our Prime Minister, skates through the whole thing, untouched. The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune completely miss our esteemed Prime Minister. He walks in glory. There is a monumental halo. Can you not see it circulating above his head? He is above the crowd. He is above complaints. He's above us all. Oh, my. Now, the saddest part, well, maybe not the saddest, but one of the saddest and one of the craziest things about all of this is that, by and large, it's women who are going to support him. Now, actually, I did a little bit of research. I checked a number of figures from the last federal election and more recent polling. To be honest with you, it's not women everywhere who are supporting this guy. Essentially, now with exceptions, of course, please. But essentially what we're looking at are women in Toronto and the Toronto area. Don't forget, there are 9 million people in the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. Women overwhelmingly there support him. We've got women in Montreal, not the rest of Quebec, but Montreal, Vancouver, and yep, here in Ottawa, and to a smaller degree in Halifax. That's it. You can be damn sure They ain't voting for this guy. The women in Alberta aren't voting for this guy. The women in Saskatchewan ain't voting for this guy. The women in Manitoba, well, maybe a few of them. There's still a few NDP idiots out there, but they're not voting for him. I'll tell you who else is not voting for him. Women in rural and small town Ontario aren't voting for this guy either. Once again, overwhelmingly, women in Toronto, women in Vancouver, women in Montreal, women in Ottawa, and to a lesser degree, women in Halifax. And that's it. Women vote for Trudeau about 2-1. Now, whether any of them will be turned off by what's happening here with sexual harassment, I don't know. Let's find out what Dave has to say. Dave, you're on the air. Thank you for calling, sir.
Yeah, thanks for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
Well, it all started when he first got elected, when he elbowed that NDP lady, and then it went from there.
I'd forgotten.
That's where it started. That. Yeah, that's where it started. I mean, he got ticked off, so because it wasn't going his way, so he elbowed her and got his person sitting down or whatever, so that would break up that little scrum they had. And of course, it's gone downhill since then. And this latest scandal with the National Defense. I talk to my neighbors in this area, and it's like I'm talking to crickets because they have no clue what the hell's going on. People are so caught up with COVID, that they've tuned out what's happening in reality, and that's sad.
And the crazy part is that by and large they're not really holding Trudeau responsible for anything that's happened with COVID either. He seems to be able to buffalo a lot of people. He keeps talking about these millions of vaccines coming in, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I'd like to know when they're coming in.
Yeah.
I sure haven't seen
Well, they're coming in, but they're coming in about 3 months late, okay?
Yeah,
most other nations are now slowly getting out of pandemic. The UK is right out of pandemic. US very close.
But the latest line from Anand and the rest of them is, we're third in the G20 or second in the G7. That's the latest line.
Well, except that's an outrageous misrepresentation of the truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what they're talking about is the single vaccinations within the last few days. The last few days, there have been a good number of vaccinations. But I want to point something out. Wait till I finish, please. Just let me finish. I'll give you all the time in the world. I just want to point this out, folks. 70% of Canadians have not as yet had a single dose. Not only that, but less than, I said yesterday, 3% of us had received both doses. I'm not right. The latest figures from world data, 2.9% of Canadians, that's all that's received full vaccination. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No worries. I'm going to run something by you, and I don't know whether it makes sense or not. I read, I think yesterday, that the Conservative Party of Canada have a war chest of cash, more than I think it's a record amount of money that they've come in.
Eight some odd million, yes.
Okay, and of course, they're reading that as, the people are fed up with the Liberals. Now, could they not start running ads talking about this national defense scandal, talking about the latest budget? Start poking holes in this guy. Like, instead of, he just gets away with it, start running ads where people are watching TV right now. They're watching the COVID news. Well, start running some ads, what the reality is. And because most people don't watch Question Period.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, the reason, of course, is that they're holding the bulk of this money back for the election campaign. But I want to point out that the teachers' union, particularly the Catholic Teachers Union, is certainly spending a lot of money going after Doug Ford. I agree. Maybe the time has come to spring a few of those $1 million and start a campaign.
They have some bright women in the Conservative Party.
Yes.
Whenever O'Toole has a speech or whatever, start bringing them into the fold. Let's hear from these people. They got some bright people, not just women, men as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to move on. Thank you.
Bye.
Do we have any emails that we want to deal with?
Oh,
here,
just a couple. Yeah.
Okay. Fire away, my boy.
Arthur says, it's not that Liberal voters believe him. They just don't care. Tim says, if Trudeau knew, it is scandalous. If he didn't know, that's even more scandalous. Maggie says, Trudeau left teaching after a sex scandal in 2001. In 2001, Justin Trudeau left his teaching job at the West Point Grey Academy after having a sexual relationship with either a student or a
before
student's
we go
mother.
further, that's strictly rumor. Okay, I mean, I don't like the guy, but what we're saying here is that has never been proven. All right, so let's just move on.
All right,
from that.
we'll asterisk that and say allegedly. There you go.
Yeah.
Joshua says, how does his tongue not fall off his roller? Anne says, I'm stuck with a Liberal MP who was on the committee that shut down the inquiry on sexual misconduct in the military. Jake says that halo over Trudeau's head is an ass ring and should be sat on. Nina says, that's very good, actually. I like that.
I love you people. I love you. That's good stuff. Okay.
I just like being able to say ass ring into a microphone. Nina says not only is Trudeau lying about Vance, but his claim that it's been ongoing for years, therefore it's the previous government's fault, as he claimed in today's briefing, but it's Trudeau's claim as a loyal feminist that has given military women the extra strength and courage to finally come forth only to get slapped in the face. How any woman can vote for this government after hearing all these allegations is beyond my comprehension. Wake up, all you Trudeau women lovers, and smell his manure pile. The words of Nina on your Facebook.
Shields. I want to talk about our good friends in Shields.
Right on.
And I keep telling you that they have a sale underway right now. If you check shields.ca, SCHEELS.ca, you'll see, particularly if you click on appliances, they furniture and high-tech material as well. And don't forget, they got a little butcher shop, great little butcher shop there as well. But essentially, I'm talking primarily about appliances, because they are one of the largest dealers, actually, as it turns out, in the Ottawa Valley of appliances. So go to shields.ca. You'll see all of the appliances listed there, all of the brand names. You'll see you'll see descriptions, and you'll see pictures of it, and you will see the price and the sale price. And right now at Shields, you can save, I see myself, up to $600. They're on sale right now. Cost of doing business a little bit less in Pakenham than elsewhere, and at Shields they pass those savings along. Not only that, but I keep telling you this: don't go to a big box store and send your money off to, I don't know, China or Brazil or even the United States. Keep her here locally. With Shields, you keep it locally, all right? And not only that, they can have it delivered in all probability within 2 or 3 days, because it will be in stock. Yes, John?
The other conversations are happening right now about Bill C-10. Are we moving on to that, or did you want to stick with the...
Absolutely. Anything we got. I want to deal with Bill 10. Go
all
to
right.
C-10.
So on that, Ann says, Karen McCrimmon in her Facebook Live last night said it's fear-mongering by us regarding Bill C-10.
I see.
Did she mention me by name? Did she mention?
Yeah, we're fear. All right, we're afraid. All right, we're afraid of losing the right to have free speech. That's what we're afraid of. You're right about that, Karen.
Vern, this is a quote I received yesterday from my MP in Nepean. To be clear, user-generated content, video games, and news media will not be affected by the proposed changes.
What? Say that again.
This is a quote I received yesterday from my MP in Nepean. To be clear, user-generated content, video games, and news media will not be affected by the proposed changes.
That is an outright outrageous lie.
Yep.
As a matter, and you know that, John. Now, the original, see, this is these damn sleepy or sleazy weasel liberal lying buggers. The original bill did exclude user content, but at a later date, just very recently, they revised it and they include user content. So whoever your conservative member is, she is lying to you. That's what this is all about. Originally, John, you know this to be true. Originally, the original bill did exclude. In other words, if you or I that didn't affect us, because they were after they said the big guys. But then somehow or other, this whole business of user came in. This is why, some of the top internet experts and lawyers in the country are enraged at this. I gave you some of the quotes yesterday. The former CRTC commissioner, Peter Menzies, says, quote, Bill C-10 doesn't just infringe on free expression, it constitutes a full-blown assault upon it and upon the foundation of democracy. So any liberal that tries to lie to you now, either they don't know because they're not following it, or they are just lying through their freaking bloody teeth. Oh, this drives me crazy. You know, when an elected representative of people that some of my money goes to pay, when they are lying, blatantly lying to people, that, John, that drives me nuts. And it should drive everybody nuts.
If it's not going to impact the average person who uploads content to Facebook, to TikTok, to Twitch, to YouTube, whatever, and look, I'm less concerned. Yeah, it certainly involves us directly because we create a lot of content. This affects every single Canadian. You post on Facebook, you post on social media. This is something that they want to affect everybody. If it's not going to affect the person who's generating the content, etc., then write that in the damn bill. Put that in writing.
Well, it was.
Clarify.
It was originally, and then, as I say, they did change it. So
Well, change it back. Put it back in there. Clarify it.
precisely. Let me just see. I want to get. I have past. I gave you the comment yesterday. One of the leading lawyers. He's a professor of law at the U of O. Geist, Geist. He is enraged as well. He says it's a direct assault on freedom of expression, freedom
Yes.
of speech.
Yes.
And by the way, most of the commentators, including columnists for various newspapers, some of whom are liberal, are as enraged as you and I, John. And by the way, if you want to see a really, really well done, well thought out column on this, read Rex Murphy in the Post today. Have you had a chance to read his column? He lays it on the line. What Murphy is saying is that he is not the least bit surprised, because he says this loss of freedom of speech has been very gradual, starting in our universities, which for a number of years, in many cases, refused to allow conservative speakers to speak. I don't know if you remember that or not, but when a number of conservative speakers wanted to come even to the U of O, there were protests and they had to cancel. And they've had this situation right across the country. Many speakers were not allowed to speak. In some universities, believe it or not, they have established what they call free speech areas, little rooms someplace where you apparently are allowed to have total free speech. The rest of the university very clearly does not have free speech. The reasoning now apparently is that you should not say anything, you should not be allowed to say anything that upsets, concerns, or bothers anybody else. So if you say something that somebody else says that upsets me, now you're not allowed to do that. That's what this is all about. Rex Murphy lays it on the line. He says this all started in our universities. This idea that somehow or other there should be no speech that offends anybody. This is very dangerous stuff. And I go back to, if that is true, that a Liberal MP actually said this doesn't affect ordinary users, that really, I would like to know who that MP is.
I was just going to say, to the person that posted that, if you could either message me or post the name of your MP, please, I would like to track this person down and get that quote from them.
I will get on their ass, believe you me. I will get on their ass like you will not believe.
Yep.
These bastards if they try to lie to us,
I want that person on this show, and I want to hear them say that to my audience and your audience.
Yep. Absolutely.
100%.
Now, I was on something else. We still have the Prime Minister standing in the House claiming that we are now number 3 or something, a number of vaccines. This is total misrepresentation. I think what he's talking about, this is hard to pin down, is that in the past 2 or 3 days, we have been, our number of single vaccinations have been going up. One of the reasons that we're going now, in that case, we're vaccinating more people than some other countries, is because these other countries are now really taking the time to vaccinate both people. So very clearly, if you're only vaccinating one person and other countries are vaccinating 2, you're going to be vaccinating in all probability more people, because you're only vaccinating them once. Let me just give you some figures. These are the latest figures, and they haven't changed much since yesterday. This is the percentage of people in these countries, some of the sample countries, percentage of people who have received both shots are fully vaccinated. Starting with Israel, where 59% of the population has now received both doses. And they're totally, everything is wide open in Israel and has been for weeks. Chile, believe it or not. Here's a South American country. They have vaccinated almost 70% of their total population and 33% of Chile's population, both doses. Bahrain, 31% fully vaccinated. The United States now 30%, almost 70% of all residents of the United States now have at least one, 30% have two. The UK, 20% fully vaccinated. Serbia, 20% fully. Hungary, 18%. Morocco, 12%. Turkey, 10%. France, 9%. These are the countries, the G20 countries that the Prime Minister is talking about. France, 9% fully vaccinated. Still not much. Germany, 8%. Brazil, 6%. Canada, 2.9%. And the Prime Minister has the gall to stand in the House and boast about this? 70% or close to 70% of our population doesn't have a single shot. Less than 3% are fully vaccinated. And he's proud of this? How can you people support this? That's what I don't understand. So it drives me crazy. By the way, talking about vaccines, it is so bad. Manitoba is so upset over the little dribble of vaccines that are coming into their country. Guess what? They have signed an international agreement, and all education workers and teachers in the province of Manitoba will get free vaccine shots in North Dakota. The government of Manitoba will pay their transportation, their accommodation if it's required, free shots for education workers and teachers in North Dakota. What a shame. This country, this great, wonderful country of ours, has got to go begging to the United States to get our people vaccinated. That's how bad it is, and the Prime Minister stands and boasts about it. Son of a bitch. All right, I'll calm down. I shouldn't swear like that. And you know what? You know why I'm swearing now? Because if we get Bill C-10, I won't be allowed to do it. So I'm sort of unleashing it now. I'm calling the Prime Minister some names that I would not be allowed, saying some things I would not be allowed to under B-SIL.
But I'm glad to hear you talk about the Manitoba situation. We talked about that this morning on my show, which of course is more goofy and silly. But yeah, we're 45 minutes from Ogdensburg, New York. I mean, can you imagine Premier Ford just putting his hands up in the air finally and saying, you know what? I got nothing left. Go to Ogdensburg, hang a right at the end of the bridge, go to the Walmart, get your vaccine.
And you know what? People are doing that. Now, it's difficult because of border restrictions. But the fact is that now the United States is vaccinating everybody 16 plus, and there's no requirement to show residency or anything of the nature. They would prefer to have local people, but there's no regulations. And more than a few Canadians are doing precisely that.
Sure.
Well, there's a good example in Manitoba. Can you imagine? Now, in all probability, today it's teachers, education workers in Manitoba. You can be very damn sure that Alberta is probably going to do the same thing very shortly. You don't think that Kenny is going to arrange the same sort of situation? I ask the question again. I know some of you are getting sick of it, but how can the Prime Minister or any Liberal stand in the House or stand anywhere and boast about the vaccine situation when residents of this country have got to flee to the United States to get vaccinated?
Well, that's something I don't understand. I mean, there's this anger that's directed at Rob Ford, and it's Trudeau, it's the feds that are supposed to acquire the vaccine, but it's not just Rob Ford saying this. It's the premiers of Manitoba, it's the premiers of Alberta. The common denominator here is one guy.
Where the hell are the vaccines?
Yes.
And by the way, one of the things that Rob Ford is really, really going after the Prime Minister, shut the freaking border down to aeroplanes. Today, 3 more airplanes arrived in Canada at Pearson International Airport, either directly or indirectly from India. Honest to God. We still have airplanes coming into this country from nations like Brazil, India, even China, where in many cases COVID is rampant. We are still allowing these airplanes to land at, and they're claiming, well, it's not a major source. Thousands, and we now find out that thousands of people have come to Canada with COVID from other nations. Centennial glass. I got to calm down here, okay? Centennial glass. You know what I'm thinking now? I have some crab legs that are in the sink. They're unfreezing, okay? You put them in cold water. I'm going to have crab legs for lunch. This puts a smile on my face. Screw Trudeau, screw the Liberals, whatever. Okay, I'm going to have crab. You want to lie? I'm going to have crab. The other thing that makes me happy, I'm able to talk about Centennial glass. Folks, if you're in the market for glass of any kind, windows, doors, patio, new patio, screens, whatever, even if it's small repairs, yes, Centennial will be glad to do the business. Prices are very, very reasonable. They shop the market. They know the price. And not only that, when you're dealing with Centennial, you're dealing with honest people, hard workers, good workers, professionals. CentennialGlass.ca, Ottawa, and in Renfrew. Oh, you're keeping me. All right, we're going to take a couple more. You're keeping me from.
Well, I'm keeping you for a reason. I kind of buggered something up. I think I said Rob Ford. It's Doug.
Oh, sorry, Doug Ford.
I'm being raked over the coals on that, Doug Ford. I see.
Oh, well.
When you get impassioned. By the way, it was Chandra Arya, the Liberal MP from Nepean, says Vern. So that's who we need to talk to. Is Chandra Arya, Liberal MP from Nepean.
There's a household name, right? She's really made an impression, and I've never heard of her. She's a Liberal MP?
Apparently from Nepean.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
okay.
I'll pass that along to you.
I'll be on the phone or trying to get on. Yeah. What do you think, John, my chances will be that she'll take my phone call?
Well, maybe she'll take mine. I mean, few people know who the hell I am, so.
We'll report back on Monday. Thank you all, folks.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live, weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.